that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. And now introducing Mayor John Cranley.
Seated. In a blink of an eye, we saw our beauty. In the blink of an eye, we were reminded of our city's glorious past. In a blink of an eye, we saw our potential. In a blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of greater Cincinnatians saw what their great-grandparents saw in downtown and over the Rhine when we were just called Cincinnatians. In a blink of an eye, it became clear to all that our region is anchored by the city. In a blink of an eye, it became obvious to all that the city is heading once again to future glory. I want to thank the Hale Foundation, Tim and Leslie Maloney and Eric Avner, and the many others who brought us Blink to Cincinnati last year. Let's give them a round of applause. We are so excited for it to come back in 2019. What Blink showed us in an instant was not created in an instant. It is a heritage of more than 2 centuries of our predecessors building the foundation upon which we are reaching ever higher. And I'm proud to say that over the past year, we have measurably added to the glory of our Queen City. Crime is down and jobs are up. Chief Winston and our firefighters courageously and compassionately remain on the front lines of the heroin crisis and are saving lives every day. This year alone, our firefighters performed more than 1,500 heroin runs. Our public service department, under the new leader of Jerry Wilkerson, is cleaning up the city streets, and next year we'll be implementing new anti-litter efforts. Phil Denning and our economic development team, with the help of Luke Blocher, Marion Haynes, Andrew Garth, and many others, have brought in more than 900 new jobs over the past year. Under the leadership of Chief Elliot Isaac, shootings are down 13% this year, the lowest we've seen in 10 years. Our water and sewer teams, led by Kathy Bailey and Diana Christie, are prioritizing infrastructure to ensure that those basic staples of life are safe and delivered on time. With the help of Reggie Zeno and Chris Bigham, for the 5th year in a row, we presented City Council with a structurally balanced budget. Our Parks Director, Wade Walcott, is leading the way, and with the help of Chairman Brad Lindner, building on the west side in Mount Airy a 5-mile bike trail. Daniel Betts has ushered in a new spirit of collaboration with Chairman Pat O'Callaghan at the Rec Center, working with Boys and Girls Clubs and many others to provide mentorship for kids. New Health Commissioner Melba Moore is building on the success of Dr. Marilyn Crumpton by working in our schools and taking innovative new approaches to our heroin crisis. With the help of Chairman Phil Lichtenstein, using our health centers as a way to help people struggling with addiction. And speaking of health, let's give our council member, Wendell Young, a round of applause for his amazing recovery over the past year. Our transportation department under Don Gingling is paving more roads than ever before, 360 last year, and preventive maintenance too. In 2013, when we took office, the city spent roughly $4 million a year with African American owned businesses, representing less than 3% of total spending. And although there is more work to be done, our city has made great progress, achieving 17%, $11 million in eligible awards going to African American businesses in 2017, and total spending of $35 million since the creation of the Department of Economic Inclusion in 2016. I want to give a special shout out to Pastor Casey Smith, who chairs our Economic Inclusion Advisory Committee, but I also want to especially honor tonight Markia Carter, a longtime city employee who now serves as the city's inclusion director and has been one of the strongest crusaders in advancing this cause, and undoubtedly we would not be here without her. On a personal level, I've seen just how engaging she is to all people who reach out, and she is a model public servant. I'd like to ask Markia to come to the stage now as she is awarded this year's Employee of the Year for the City of Cincinnati. We are also making huge strides as a city that welcomes immigrants and makes inclusion a top priority. Under the leadership of Steve Driehaus, former Congressman, and Brian Wright, at Cincinnati Compass, and with the help of many others, Cincinnati has been recognized as one of our nation's most friendly, immigrant-friendly cities, ranking 18th in the country. For the 5th year in a row, the Human Rights Campaign gave Cincinnati a perfect score on the Municipal Equality Index. As a dedicated advocate of human rights, I also want to congratulate Councilman Chris Seelbach, who's getting married this week and is not here because of his wedding. Chris, we hope you have a wonderful wedding and honeymoon. As usual, oh, and I forgot to mention, most importantly, once again, my wife Dina had a successful health day a week and a half ago, and 1,700 individuals were screened on the health day at the churches, co-chaired by Sister Barbara Lynch, and we want to congratulate her on, once again, another wonderful health day. As usual, our city leaders, Patrick Dehaney, Sheila Hill Christian, John Jewick, and our city solicitor, Paula Boggs-Muthing, are bringing the best out of everybody as they help lead the city. I couldn't do this job without you, and I thank you for always being there. And as good as things have been, we know that life isn't perfect, and we've had a few failures over the past year. One failure was allowing unhealthy housing conditions for our homeless. Homeless camps are bad for public health, but most importantly, bad for those experiencing homelessness. At the forefront of this struggle are two outstanding leaders who are working every day to provide the services and raise awareness around what it actually means to experience homelessness. Please watch this video.
Everybody in our community pretty much has a vision of a homeless person, and it's the person standing on the street corner holding the cardboard sign.
Most people suffer from evictions, lack of stable employment, or have health issues that end up really impacting their housing stability, and they end up finding themselves homeless.
Here at Bethany House, we see a different face of homelessness, and it's the face of children. You know, those kids need to eat, they need to get to school, they need clothing. What happens many times is our kids aren't even able to go to school because if mom's worried about how she's going to feed the kids and where they're going to sleep that night, school drops down in the priority list.
I asked our residents what does home mean to them, and one of the things that somebody said to me is that a home means a place of my own. He said that it means power.
It's safety, it's stability, it's, you know, a place to retreat to at the end of the day. It's a place where our children will find routine and structure.
I would like the people of Cincinnati to realize that homelessness could happen to anybody. People have different experiences and reasons why they are homeless, and the way our city responds to people in need speaks to who we are as citizens of Cincinnati.
I want to break the cycle of family homelessness and ensure that every family has a place to call home. These families are hidden in plain sight, and those are the faces that our community does not see.
Susan Schiller and Arlene Nolan were the strongest, smartest, and most compassionate voices when homelessness consumed the hearts and minds of our city this summer. They acted quickly to ensure beds were available to all on the street and advocated for the actual needs of the homeless. Without their leadership, we could not have addressed this challenge in a way that was both compassionate and logical. Arlene and Susan want us to know that most homeless individuals are not on the streets, but hardworking folks living in shelters who are just not earning a living wage to be self-sufficient. Shelter House's rapid rehousing program was one of the most cost-effective permanent supportive housing programs in Cincinnati last year. 80% of the people that they help place into apartments in rapid rehousing do not return to the streets within 2 years. That's an incredible success rate for those who struggle, and it frees up beds for others with tougher needs. Last year, Shelter House helped 332 people, and next year, hopefully, they will be able to help even more people with additional funding through our anti-poverty wraparound fund, which I will describe in greater detail later in the speech. And thanks to Councilman David Mann, Bethany House and the support of City Council will receive, under Mr. Mann's leadership, $500,000 in support towards an over $10 million project to build new facility for homeless families in Bond Hill. So this year's Humanitarians of the Year are Arlene Nolan and Susan Schiller, and we ask them to come forward to accept their awards. Congrats again. Among all of the successes there are to report this year, there was also the monumental failure that is the death of Kyle Plush. Please join me in taking a moment of silence for Kyle. This tragedy took the life of a young man far too soon and exposed several problems and errors in our emergency communications system. In this instance, we failed. And in all cases, we can do better and should do better. Despite dealing with this tragedy, Ron and Jill Plush have and will continue to push us to fix this, to make sure it never happens again. They have been the epitome of grace, and they have demanded that we honestly assess our failures. They are here this evening, and let's thank them for working to help others when that same help was not made available to them. we got to speak briefly before the speech began, and Jill gave me a bracelet for their foundation, which says, "Answer the call to be your best self every day." That's what they want us to be. And we were not our best selves that day. We're sorry. I also want to thank Vice Mayor Smitherman for his leadership in chairing some tough meetings, and Council Members Murray and Landsman for not letting us forget this and to keep pushing. Under the leadership of Jason Dunn, ECC is doing better and making changes. Reforms include removing unnecessary red tape and barriers to hiring highly qualified individuals in order to achieve and sustain optimal staffing levels. ECC leadership continues to monitor our call answer times and staffing levels. Our call times are getting better, 90% of which are answered in less than 10 seconds. We have also implemented the Smart 911 system that allows families to voluntarily share more information so that if your family member is in an emergency, the 911 caller will have more relevant information. So far, over 4,000 households have enrolled. We encourage you all to do so. Many leadership changes have been necessary to address these issues, and Patrick Dehaney has never hesitated to put duty over politics time and time again. In fact, during both the city's major shortcomings this year, the homeless camps and the Kyle Plush tragedy, Patrick Dehaney has shown uncommon courage, hard work, honesty, and a commitment to make change. During the homeless camps, Patrick Dehaney treated the homeless as people worthy of his time, personally meeting and touring with the homeless, and he bent over backwards to ensure that camps were disbanded humanely and that all were offered beds. A combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Patrick Dehaney has been the epitome of a servant leader and somebody who has the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Let's give him a round of applause. As we have honestly admitted when our city came up short this year, there were also times when we shined. In fact, the vast majority of time, our city workers do great work and occasionally heroic work. On September 6th, at about 9 a.m., our worst nightmare was acted out. But firefighters, private security guards, 911 callers, and our police worked together to stop the killing of a madman shooting on Fountain Square. Please join me in a moment of silence for the 3 lives we lost that day: Luis Calderon, Prudhi Raj Kandepi, and Richard Newcomer. And let's extend our deepest concern to Whitney Austin and Brian Sarver. Whitney Austin, who was shot 12 times, her husband Waller is here. Also with us is Fifth Third Executive Tim Ellsbrock. Tim, thank you for being here on behalf of Fifth Third. Your whole organization has shown us what it means to lead in the face of tragedy. Let's give their strength and perseverance a round of applause. And now let's watch our heroes in action and pay attention in particular to the civilian who was hiding beneath the desk and comes out near the end.
Cincinnati 911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hello?
Hello, Cincinnati 911.
I'm at Greater Fountain Square. I don't really know what's going on. I don't know if there's like a shooter in the building or something. We saw someone that looked like they had a gun.
Okay, stay where you are. Let them know that you're in the Graders in the bathroom, okay?
Okay.
All right, sweetie.
first recognize those officers who responded to the scene to end the threat. Thank you for your quick, decisive actions to go toward the gunfire for an unknown threat by an unknown individual, protecting the lives of so many others. Your dedication to duty, bravery, and commitment saved the lives of others. Specialist Gregory J. Toyas, Officer Jennifer M. Chilton, who as part of the team engaged him with her firearm. Officer Antonio D. Eder.
In this particular instance, we had officers that, you know, they responded to their training and they knew that it was necessary for them to save lives.
The members responded quickly and in a timely manner. And no doubt that assisted in saving those lives.
In that video, you can see that once the officers heard the shots, they actually started running faster. They ran faster to the danger. And you see the woman emerge from the desk, and you can feel what it would feel like to have been under that desk during the shooting, and knowing that finally the cavalry had arrived, that the good guys were there. Officers Chilton, Eder, Kaminsky, and Specialist Toyas, your courage is truly remarkable, and you are all heroes in our eyes. We can never thank you enough for your service, but I am honored to name you the Cincinnatians of the Year, and I ask you to come to the stage to accept the award. Our city has been forever changed by this event, but through this adversity, we have emerged more united. We are Cincinnati strong. And there were a lot of heroes that day. At the start of the video, you can hear the calm in the voice of 911 operator Kathy Malone, who soothed a scared young woman, Bella Heron, as she bravely reported the threat from the Grader's bathroom. With us tonight are Kathy and Bella. There's Kathy, raise your hand. And Bella. Bella's right there. And now please watch this video.
There were a lot of other people whose actions were simply heroic that day as well, starting with our call takers and dispatchers. The way that they handled the calls that were incoming and getting that information relayed to our officers in the field was just simply amazing. And then the security officers on the scene, the lives that they've saved, and the other people that were involved in relaying that information to really help our officers respond and really try to reduce the loss of life. So there were a lot of heroes on that day.
One of the first calls I took was about shots fired, and that's definitely not a normal thing for downtown. So I knew something bad was happening. I took another call after that where there was actually victims that were shot that were in the loading dock. And then my third call from that location was from Bella.
You know, I had to stay calm for the people around me and for myself, and that we were gonna get through it together.
So if I act scared, they're gonna feel that or they're gonna hear that from me. So my thing is to just talk at a normal voice and try to be compassionate towards the person that I'm talking to and let them know that everything's okay.
The 911 operator, Kathy, made me feel really safe and protected and told me that everything was going to be okay.
You know, we mourn together and we praise those who respond together. It's togetherness. Cincinnati strong. I think that's a great way to sum up what occurred here.
Without the collective courage of police, firefighters, 911 operators, and security guards, this tragedy would have been much worse. It's because of this team that Whitney Austin, who was shot 12 times, survived this incident. She would have been here tonight, and in fact, as I already mentioned, her husband is, but she just had another operation as part of her recovery and couldn't make it in person. But she wanted to say this.
Officer Chilton, Officer Kaminsky, Officer Etter, and Officer Toyes, it's because of you that I'm alive. It's because of you that I get to be a mother, that I get to be a wife, that I get to be a daughter and a sister, all the things that matter more to me than anything else in this world. So thank you. I am eternally grateful to the four of you. Every single one of you has made a significant difference in my life, and now I want to make a significant difference in the lives of others. So I started the Whitney Strong Foundation. You can find out more by going to whitneystrong.org. But we are here to fight gun violence by promoting, supporting, and advocating responsible gun ownership. I'm going to fight hard. I'm ready to make changes, and I hope that you are here and ready to fight with me.
Whitney, yeah, let's give her a round of applause. Pretty amazing. Whitney has turned her own personal tragedy into advocacy. I hope you will all join Whitney as well as our local friends, Michelle Mueller and Christine Armstrong, at Moms Demand Action to reduce gun violence. Some people just shouldn't have guns, and no other first world nation has our kind of gun violence. So let's put ideology last and human life first by passing common sense gun safety legislation. Obviously, by now, most of us are rightly proud of and aware of the events that took place on Fountain Square. But tonight, I want to tell you another story of innocent victims being shot and how our cavalry, the police, and many other city and county and federal workers raced to help the innocent. 9 days prior to the Fountain Square tragedy, there was another mass shooting in our city that very few of us know about because it occurred in a low-income neighborhood of the West End, where expectations are too low. Since 2015, Captain Lisa Davis of our police department, along with Violent Crimes Task Force Sergeant Dan Scoff and Officer Brett Stratman, and the ATF, led by resident in charge Clayton Merrill, have been building a case for drug dealing, violence, and gang activity against a man named Jerry Black of the West End for crimes that he committed over many years. Knowing that his arrest and charge could likely cause additional acts of violence in retaliation, our police begged the judge to deny bail between the charging and the trial, because our police knew that innocent lives were at risk if Jerry Black remained free. Unfortunately, the judge allowed the bail, and the day before he was set to plead guilty on August 28th, Jerry Black's rival gang orchestrated a shooting attempting to kill Jerry Black outside Stanley Row Apartments, where Jerry Black lives. In broad daylight, not only was Jerry Black shot, he survived, but two completely innocent victims, Paul Coates and Mary Pritchett, were innocent victims of this shooting just because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time, which just happened to be outside their own homes, which is totally unacceptable. Paul Coates and Mary Pritchett are here this evening. In fact, Mary Pritchett is sitting right here, the beautiful hat on. You're welcome. There's more to be done. We should all be as outraged by the shooting of Mr. Coates and Miss Pritchett as we are about Whitney Austin and Brian Sarver, the innocent victim shooters who survived at Fountain Square. Mary, as we had a chance to talk before the speech tonight, Mary, we're helping her move into a place where she'll feel less afraid. And we're glad to help make that happen. And we'll do everything else we can do. There is something fundamentally wrong when these innocent victims do not receive the kind of love and support as the victims of Fountain Square. Random mass shootings, which plague our nation, are not normal. And as a country, we can't allow them to be normalized, whether they happen on Fountain Square or in the West End. But regardless of the common knowledge and media attention of these shootings, do you know who did treat these victims the same and have sought the same justice as we did in the Fountain Square shooting? The same cavalry who rushed to Fountain Square. Our police department, the ATF, the U.S. Attorney, and many other outreach workers and the Hamilton County's Reentry Office. Because our cavalry arrives for all people in all neighborhoods as best they can. Because our city workers express through their actions that all people are created equal and that all innocent life deserves to be rescued from evil. The U.S. Attorney, the police, and the ATF asked for Jerry Black to remain in jail precisely for the reason why 2 innocent people got shot, including Mary, because they knew that retaliation was coming and that innocent people might get hurt. Even though the innocent shootings of Mary and Paul don't command the same attention as Fountain Square, they mean just as much to our city workers, our police officers, who work every day to fight for all human life, regardless of the neighborhood or income or status. And despite the tragic outcome of 2 innocent people being shot, I want to thank U.S. Attorney Ben Glassman, Ken Parker, our police, and the ATF for bringing Jerry Black to justice and fighting for innocent victims all the time, not just when people are watching. You all make us proud, and let's give this cavalry a round of applause. And this is not all that we, the city, are doing to fight for the dignity of every person, regardless of their race or income or even their previous way of life. We all know that the kind of violence that we see in the West End stems in part from systemic and generational poverty that we all must work to end so that opportunity is available to all. And sometimes, to end the cycle of violence, we have to give folks a second chance. Too many people who have paid their debt to society are returning from prison and have too few options. But we have local heroes who are reaching out with a second chance. The Beacon of Hope and Nehemiah Industries have hired 357 ex-felons over the last couple of years and are paying living wages. Their leader, Dan Meyer, is building a community of employers, a whole host of them willing to hire ex-felons. And our Hamilton County Office of Reentry is doing a great job as well. Please watch this video that showcases the work of Dion Crockett, who runs and works in the reentry office, our outreach workers, and a man named Dominique Hardy, who has left behind a life of crime.
The Cincinnati Initiative to Reduce Violence is a gun violence strategy.
I must tell you, it's really been a lot of gratitude for me to work with the city to try to stop this gun violence in our city and in our community. There's a lot of programs stepping up out there today, and the city is definitely taking a big effort in this.
The job of outreach workers is basically to go out into the community and relate to the individuals who are basically out there having trouble finding jobs because of their past record. To talk to individuals who they know are involved in certain criminal activities. The reason we can do this so successfully is that the majority of our staff, we're ex-felons. We've been through the system. We know the importance of getting things done immediately when a person comes home.
We're the component that I guess we would be described as social services. Our job is to really identify behaviors Our job is to really work with the high-risk offenders that may be on probation through the county or that the city has highlighted as at risk to have violence or to commit violence. Our job is to move them forward, to stop them from being rearrested, to help them go through that transition of what life looks like on the other side of the fence, per se.
I grew up single mother. She had 2 children, me and my older brother. My mother was like, always worked. She always worked 2 jobs. So it was always just me and my brother actually at home, like mom's, you know. She took care of us, got us everything that we needed. It just, I chose to take the route to the streets. My life has been a story in its own. Coming down here with Stan Ross, you know, actually be able to speak and give my experiences to other people that's in trouble. And it was just, the things that they put in my life has helped shape me. What I do with reentry is if I help direct people to reentry so they can be able to get what I got. And what I got is a lot more grounded, a lot more push to the right direction. Actually, I'm employed with Anchor Fluid Powers out of Fairfax. Reentry actually gave recommendation letters to this job for them to give me a chance because they don't hire felons.
Stan Ross, Pastor Mingo, Mitch Morris, Dominique, and Dion are all here tonight. Why don't they stand up and let's give them a round of applause. There he is. Dominique, we're really proud of you, and we want you to keep going. Our city's approach to public safety is comprehensive, not just hard policing, though that is sometimes necessary, but also about breaking the cycle of poverty and despair by offering hope, second chances, and neighborhood revitalization. This aims to treat not only the symptoms of crime and violence, but the root causes. You see, the state of our city is good because of the good work that our people are doing to help all people in all neighborhoods. I am as proud of these West End stories as I am of our Fountain Square heroics. It says to me that the city employees believe that we are all one people and that we are all one city. And now we are sending a new cavalry to reduce poverty and expand opportunity. Over the past 3 years, the Child Poverty Collaborative has elevated poverty reduction to the top of our community's agenda. Co-chairs Odell Owens, Sister Sally Duffy, Michael Fisher, Donna Jones-Baker, Ellen Katz, Pastor Ennis Tate, and Tom Williams and I, along with an active steering committee of over 30 people, have committed to tackling this issue differently. We said we won't do more of the same, we won't create a new organization, but instead we will, 1, help directly rather than indirectly those working their way out of poverty, and 2, to the extent possible, incorporate actual employers and employer-based assistance to make sure that people can get and keep good-paying jobs. Under the leadership of many, including a very generous donation by Dave Hershey, the Employer Roundtable has brought together over 150 employers willing to make changes to help lower-income workers do better, keep employment, and earn more money. The other major effort is to leverage existing and proven social services like, not to name all of them, but there are a few good ones here. There are many more that I won't be able to name. Talbot House, Legal Aid, Cincinnati Works, the Urban League, Community Action Agency, and everyday faith-based providers like Pastor Ennis Tate to get that extra help that is needed to somebody on the verge of breaking the bonds of poverty. So often, after everyday setbacks, such as a flat tire, a broken down car, or an illness or a child's illness, can be devastating for families who depend on that job and if they miss it. And what's most exciting about this new effort is that it will work hand in hand with Hamilton County, with Maura Weir at the County Jobs and Family Services Department to ensure that this is a true public-private partnership and there's no duplication of effort. As promised, now that we are up and running, we will assist at least 5,000 families and 10,000 kids over the next 5 years. The private sector is going to provide 80% of the money needed for this new effort. But I will be working with City Council to fund a percentage of this work, and I ask for their help on this noble effort. So to sum up what your city is trying to do, if you are facing a shooter, we will send our cavalry. If you need a second chance, we will send our cavalry. If you need job assistance, we will send our cavalry. We don't always get there in time, like we didn't for Richard, Lewis, and Prudy, but we do try. And when we fail, as we did in the case of Kyle Plush, we commit to do better. And day in and day out, we will never stop trying harder to save more lives. This is our calling. And just as we know that we could have done better and should have done better in Kyle Plush, our 911 callers did do better at Fountain Square as Kathy Malone talked to Bella Heron in the Grader's bathroom and made sure that those cops were racing to provide the help that was needed, and the firefighters. It's no secret that the aftermath of the Kyle Plush incident was tough for all of us. And the greatest indicator of our willingness to try to do better is the lives that were saved at Fountain Square. That's what trying harder means. And trying harder works. And we will go back to work tomorrow doing our best to do better by all of you. Saving innocent lives, Mayor, you too. Saving innocent lives also means making sure that our kids and grandkids have a fair chance to enjoy opportunity, which means, among other things, that they have a city and a world worth inheriting. The United Nations just this month released a report saying that the immediate consequences of climate change are catastrophic. Food shortages, wildfires, poverty by 2040 if we don't act right away to reverse global warming. My son Joseph, who is here, will be 31 in 2040, and I will be 66. And miraculously, my wife Dina will be 39. We should lighten things up a little bit, shouldn't we? I'm glad that both of you could be here tonight. But I intend to tell you, Joseph, that we've launched a cavalry of help to ensure that he and his kids will have a clean shot on the most important playing field of all, Mother Earth. In Cincinnati, we are leading by example when it comes to increasing sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint. Under the leadership of Larry Falcon and his team, Ali Kroner and Michael Forrester, Cincinnati is leading. In the last 9 years, we've reduced emissions by 18%. And we are very close to breaking ground on a major 25 megawatt solar project. This will reduce the city's carbon emissions by 25,000 tons annually, the equivalent of planting 600,000 trees and keeping 24 million pounds of coal in the ground per year. The project will break ground next year. Site Selection magazine has recognized Cincinnati as one of the country's most sustainable regions, and we are taking sustainability to the next level by establishing the Cincinnati 2030 District. 2030 Districts is a national model for urban sustainability, and it's made up of property owners who voluntarily commit to work together to reduce the building's energy and water use by 50% by 2030. I am proud to announce that one of our Cincinnati's greatest hometown heroes, Kroger, is stepping up to the plate once again and becoming a founding member of the district. Keith Daly, stand up, Keith, from Kroger is here, and let's give them a round of applause. Earlier this year, they announced that they're eliminating plastic bags, and we all know they have a lot of stores and a lot of real estate. And so having them as a founding member of the district along with the city, I also want to announce that they helped 8451 come along, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, who make solar panels, are also a member with their training facility, and Matt Kolbinski and his team are founding members. In Cincinnati, we call our environment neighborhoods, and we have 52 of them. So we will be entering 2019 with major neighborhood improvements that will spread our downtown renaissance to historic neighborhoods. Bond Hill and Priceville are experiencing a phenomenal renaissance with the help of the Port under Laura Brunner and Jessica Powell at the Land Bank, and lots of community leaders, from Price So Well to CEAI to Citizens on Patrol in Roselawn and Bond Hill and so many others. And council members Greg Landsman and Councilwoman Tamaya Denard worked hard to bring jobs to Lower Price Hill by getting the tri-state deal done. Thank you to Tamaya and Greg. Pleasant Ridge will see its business district at the corner of Montgomery Road and Leicester developed. Westwood Town Square is under construction, and the Madcap Center, led by Tim Perino, Roger Pilley, and Doug Ridenauer, is opening in 2 weeks. After years of hard work by Sarah Sheets and so many others, the Madison and Westville project is finally under construction. The first phase of Wasson Way opened in July, and we are eager to continue to work to Evanston. Speaking of Evanston, that neighborhood got a big win this year when we finally got control of King Records. Avondale Town Center is opening soon, and down the street, the Uptown Innovation Quarter is taking shape under the leadership of Councilman Sittenfeld and the visionary approach of UC President Neville Pinto and David Adams. FC Cincinnati, one of the largest economic development projects in our city's history, under the great leadership of Carl Linder, Scott Farmer, and Jeff Birding, among many others, will soon be realized in the West End. There was a time not too long ago when people didn't think we were hip or cool enough to support 3 major league teams, but we have proven them all wrong. Please watch this video.
This is the moment that you've all been waiting for and we have been anticipating for so long. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to announce that Cincinnati, Ohio is officially granted the newest expansion club in Major League Soccer. Welcome, FC Cincinnati.
We all came together, worked for something that's bigger than us. And we're here today because of that connection and that common goal. We're all excited to be part of Major League Soccer's tremendous future that's ahead. FC Cincinnati is a portrait of this city, the pride, the passion, the love.
Sports has this powerful place in our culture to unite people, to bring people together, to create human connections with one another around our passion for our sports and for our city.
After your club has been launched and playing many years, you're going to remember this day as a truly historic event for the Queen City, for FC Cincinnati, for Major League Soccer, and for soccer in North America.
We are embracing a new city and a new future. And as we listen to each other, there was one group that was ahead of all of us, and that was the fan base of FCC.
And FCC has already brought home a championship as the USL season champion, and they just won on Saturday, and we expect them to win the tournament championship in a couple of weeks. I want to give a special thank you to Councilman Jeff Pastor and Laura Brunner, who led the way to create a community benefits agreement between all stakeholders. Neighborhoods need to be lifted up and not kept down. Shootings are down by 2/3 in our city, in over the Rhine, since we started heavily investing there over a decade ago. Now other neighborhoods are asking for help. And considering how much we've discussed the West End tonight, it seems like the West End is a great place to start. Mayor Mallory and I agree that FCC is the best cavalry of hope and jobs and investment we can send to the West End. And I want to send a special thank you to council members David Mann, Amy Murray, Jeff Pastor, Christopher Smitherman, and PG Sittenfeld for voting to approve this monumental project. Let's give them a round of applause. These are just a few of the many things that we have to look forward to in 2019, and you may be wondering, how can you help? As mayor, one of the greatest privileges I have is to ask people to give back to our city. All of our best accomplishments have resulted from just asking people to give back to this city. That is why last year I challenged all Cincinnatians to give one for Cincy to motivate and inspire all Cincinnatians to perform some act of service for our city. Just 1 hour per month to strengthen our neighborhoods, to feed those who go without, to help someone learn to read, to teach someone the skills they need to get a job, to clean up our streets. And Cincinnati stepped up in a big way. This would not be possible without the collaboration of several citywide volunteer organizations. I want to especially thank our task force members who accepted this challenge with great enthusiasm. At the core of this challenge is the volunteer organization Inspiring Service, who, when this initiative was announced, immediately said, how can we help? Inspiring Service is responsible for creating the tracking system, supporting the Give One website, and bringing several service organizations to the table. That is why this year I have been moved to add another recognition and honor Inspiring Service as the Outstanding Volunteer Organization of the Year. Craig Young, please come forward and accept the award. Last year, we set the impossible high standard of 100,000 hours, and frankly, I didn't think we'd get there. But we've already surpassed 167,000 hours. For 2019, I'm setting a new impossible dream of 250,000 hours. So let's go do it next year. And part of asking people to serve is also saying thanks when they do. And I do want to take just a second. As you probably realize, this has been an emotional evening, and it hasn't been an easy thing to pull together. So I want to say a special thank to the team in my office, Rahel, Danielle, who did the great rendition of the national anthem, Bridget, Amira, Jess, Bobby, and of course, Yasmin and Holly and Steve Sobel for the hard work they put into these videos, into this evening. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm not always the easiest person to work with either. In the Old West, the cavalry was all volunteer. So I'm asking all of you to become part of our city's cavalry of hope by volunteering and serving. As Tocqueville observed in the early 19th century, Americans are uniquely involved in civic life as volunteers, and that is what makes America so special. It's what makes life worth living, and Cincinnati so special. And as we volunteer, we will become better a city and better neighbors. And we will make real our ideals that everybody matters, and that while opportunity isn't equal now, it should be. And we will try to build a city where it is. And then when we blink and realize that our lives have gone by far too fast, we will rest assured that what our kids and grandkids see when they blink is an example of treating all people with dignity in this one beautiful Queen City for all. Thank you very much.
Spirits in the dark.